Namaskar, sir.
नमस्कार जी.
Thank you, sir.
नमस्कार.
So, कोई कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा है आपके यहाँ, लगता है मेरे को.
हाँ जी.
कोई कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा है आपके यहाँ पीछे.
नहीं, वो साथ वाले चल रहा है तो उसकी थोड़ी आवाज है.
साउंड आ रही है. So, start करना सर, because we have to go by 4 o'clock.
नहीं, मैं मतलब दूसरी मीटिंग मेरी चल रही है तो उसमें से लॉग आउट करके किया हूँ. तो आप कितने, हाउ मच टाइम शुड आई स्पीक रफली?
Maybe sir 40-45 minutes.
40-45 मिनट. ठीक है, ठीक है.
So, with your kind permission, sir, I welcome all the participants, our esteemed vice chancellors, our deputy director generals, former deputy director generals, former vice chancellors, for this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav ICAR lecture series, which is 43rd in number today. And we are going to have a lecture on enhancing the quality and relevance in agricultural education by Professor K K Aggarwal. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation. And we are so glad that you are going to speak today on the agricultural education platform, on the platform of National Agricultural Research System. And you have been always associated with the traditional universities, because you are the chairman of this National Board of Accreditation. So you deal with more of the general education than of the agricultural education, but we can take advantage of your vast experience, but how we can have the more quality and relevant agricultural education using the latest national education policy and the other developments, for which you are all you are member of almost all the committees, whatever are being formed. Sir, I just want to say that this platform is one of the platform for this ICAR lecture series, which we are using today. In addition to this, we have another 2 platforms through which our audience, they get connected. The one is ICAR web, ICAR 75 lecture series, .webconevents.com, and the other is the ICAR official YouTube channel. Dear colleagues, I want to just inform you about the personality, the big personality, Professor K K Aggarwal. As I told you, he is the chairman presently of this National Board of Accreditation, and he is the former founder, vice chancellor of the GGS Indraprasth University, Delhi, and the former chairman of the Board of Governors, MNIT, Jaipur. Professor Aggarwal obtained his engineering degree from Punjab University and master's degree from Kurukshetra University, securing first position in both. Later, he did his PhD in reliability evaluation and optimization, also from the Kurukshetra University. In 1975, he rose to the level of professor at an age of 27 and a half years. I think it's unparalleled. I have not heard anybody else who had become the professor at 27 and a half years. So that's really a good accomplishment. After a distinguished service of 27 years at NIT Kurukshetra, Professor Aggarwal was appointed Pro Vice Chancellor at Guru Jambeshwar University, which is a technical university of Haryana, Hisar, for a period of 3 years. And then during 1998, he was appointed as the founder vice chancellor of GGS Indraprasth University, Delhi. He continued on this position up to November 2008. He has been also the president of the Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers for the period 2002 to 2004. Professor Aggarwal has extensively worked in various fields of electronics and computers engineering. He has published about 400 papers in the reputed journals, and about 50% of them are international journals. He has been invited to deliver lectures in several universities in India and abroad, such as University of Berkeley, University of Cincinnati, Florida State University, University of Birmingham, Technical University of Germany, and many more. Professor Aggarwal has written few books, and many of his articles have appeared in several books published by IEEE of USA. A couple of years ago, he authored a book on reliability engineering, which is published by Clover Academic, Netherlands. His latest book on software engineering, published in 2001, has already seen several reprints. Professor Aggarwal was honored by the Reliability Society of IEEE USA for his service as guest editor for the special issue on state of reliability efforts of the Indian subcontinent. And he was declared as the man of decade, man of the century, and finally man of the millennium by American Bibliographic Institute, USA. He was also awarded Delhi Ratan by the All India Conference of Intellectuals. International Biographical Center, England, has published his biography in the first 500 at the new millennium in July 2000. So friends, we have a very charming personality today for giving this lecture, and the lecture is very close to his heart, and that is enhancing quality and relevance in agriculture education. Sir, in the audience, as I told you, we have a very esteemed and very distinguished persons, and we are sure that with your wisdom, with your viewpoints, we will be further benefited, and we will take the points, whatever you suggest, to incorporate in the agriculture education. Thank you, sir. And floor is yours. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Aggarwal, for giving me this opportunity to be interacting with the who's who of agricultural education in the country. As has already been read out, I have not been an agriculture educationist. I have been in the field of education as such, but we thought, when Dr. Aggarwal told me, we thought we could at least make an attempt to interact with persons who have vast experience in agriculture education. Friends, I know his request has been pending with me for about 6 months, but then we thought before the date comes for the 75th lecture, I must come in as promised, and that's why I am. Friends, I'm so happy to be here this afternoon amongst the galaxy of persons from agriculture education. Let me at the outset say that I may be somewhat unfamiliar with agriculture education's intricacies. So if I make some observation which is not true, I should be forgiven for that. And let's try to take the relevance part in this. I chose the topic as quality and relevance in agriculture education. My experience with the agriculture education has been superficial to the extent that I've been familiar with Punjab Agriculture University, and then I was when I was pro vice chancellor in ICAR Technical University, there was quite an interaction with HAU, which is one of the good agriculture universities in the country. Then GB Pant Agriculture University, of course, because it started doing well in engineering also, and some of the governors put me as chairman search committees of some agriculture universities. So that is how sometimes I get an idea about how the agriculture universities are doing in the country, and I'm so proud of it. As a matter of fact, after the medical education, I find agricultural education is one which is connecting with the profession more than engineering profession as of date. Medical profession, of course, is very well connected with the hospitals, and that training by itself is unique in the whole world. I personally believed and felt that agriculture education should also have been that much connect with the profession as such. I know you have it better than engineering, but probably it could have been much more. That is why I think most of the agriculture universities had very large farms and all that to give the experimental fields. But somehow, I think over the period of few decades, agricultural education went more towards the lines of general education, I would say, to fall in line with the systems. And I sometimes feel that there was no real necessity to fall in line with the general education system and follow those systems. Our USP could have been connection with the ground much better, which is really the reality of agriculture profession. Friends, I know as a professional education, recognized professional education subject, agricultural education came on the recognition of professional education much later than medical, engineering, management, architecture, although the profession of architecture was oldest. And therefore, somewhere down the line, we really never recognized the necessity of agricultural education in the scientific way. And we got little late in this. But notwithstanding this, the country is always indebted to agriculture and agriculture scientists for two of the greatest revolutions we have had, Green Revolution and White Revolution. Green Revolution, where you know that when we were short of food grains and we had to import it, we not only became self-sufficient, at times we could even export it. Same was true about White Revolution. I know in Delhi there used to be lines before in front of the booths early morning for getting a packet of milk or bottle of milk, and now we are surplus in this. So these are the two revolutions on the ground which have happened and which have changed the scenario of the country in economic terms also. But somehow over last couple of decades, the service industry took a lead over agriculture and manufacturing. I think now we are realizing that we made a mistake in not giving that much attention to agriculture, not giving that much attention to manufacturing, and our whole energy was focused on services. The reason was simple, because the productivity per professional from the services was much higher than productivity per professional from agriculture or manufacturing. So therefore, in the short term, that tempted us to put in more and more focus on elitist education, if I may call it, on the service industry. And it became all over the world, but probably became much more in India than the rest of the world. I have a point to prove this. I am also in charge of declaration of ranking of the Indian universities, which we call as NIRF. And when I declare the ranking for the last 6 years, I find amongst the first 10 ranks, 7 or 8 belong to technical education. Now, that has not happened anywhere else in the world. It doesn't happen in America. It doesn't happen in UK. It doesn't happen in Australia. It doesn't happen in New Zealand. It doesn't happen in France. But in India, we find first 7 or 8 out of the first 10 are all engineering institutions because that was connected with the service sector, and the employment and the placement pay package became our guiding factor. And therefore, this lopsidedness occurred to some extent. I'm an engineer, I'm an IT engineer, so I am one hand very happy about it. But on the other hand, when I talk about the education as a whole, I believe that this lopsided development and lopsided enhancement of quality in one domain was probably not planned. It happened probably subconsciously, but it has not augured well with this country, because why should our universities in general, including agriculture universities, arts universities, science universities, health universities, not be at the national ranking or international ranking at the same level? That is a point which I have been thinking for quite some time. And my analysis was only this: because service sector got a boost, therefore technological sector got the boost, and agriculture and manufacturing were behind. We believe that the per capita income or the placement for the service sector is so high that it gives us all the boost which we need. But we fail to realize that in the agriculture sector, even if I am able to make a 5% improvement, given the number of people involved in the agriculture sector, even that 5% or 10% improvement would have meant a lot in the overall economy of the country. I think that point was subconsciously missed somewhere. Therefore, agriculture as a profession did not get that much enhancement in quality as it should have been done. We have seen in the world how the agriculture has been mechanized much faster, much better. Now, one point of view could be that we ought to be labor-intensive country all the time, but nonetheless, efficiency is always required and called for. I do remember a sort of published case study, which I may call it like that. Somebody, they say, was using shovels to dig a channel, and some foreigner passed by. He said, "Why are you using shovel when we have so much mechanization?" And the answer was, "We have to have our labor engaged." Then he said, "Okay, then you stop using shovels also. You use spoons to dig the earth. You will employ more people." Well, it is a funny side of the case study, but the point is we cannot stop being technically advanced and believe the results to have happened. When I'm talking to you today, I was studying a little bit because agriculture universities all over the country, we somehow believed discipline-specific universities were important. So we created technical universities, we created health universities, we created agricultural universities. We didn't stop at that. We created dairy universities, we created veterinary universities, and in the medical science, we created dental universities, and so on and so forth. So we kept on creating universities on the narrow and narrowest possible areas, and thereby creating a sort of gap between various domains of education. It is only now, when national education policy has been announced, we are starting to reverse this process. And now we are saying every institution should be multidisciplinary. And we are taking a conscious decision, no more single discipline institutions in the country. I have read your report completely, which you have prepared on national education policy and agriculture education. I could lay my hands on that report and have gone through that report completely before I speak to you. And I'm really happy over your conscious decisions how to gel with NEP and agriculture education in a real meaningful way, keeping your identity separate, but at the same time following the general principles of NEP. And I will talk a few minutes about it also. When I'm talking to you today, it has been a very large disruption in education as a whole. As a matter of fact, the disruption has been there all over in the world, and because of the COVID for last 2 years, the whole world is disrupted, and the same disruption came to education also. I was trying to find out what is the sort of meaning of disruption in the real sense, and I came across a beautiful quote which I thought I'll read before you. It says, "What is disruptive technology?" It says, "When TV came to my house, I forgot how to read books. When the car came to my doorstep, I forgot how to walk. When I got the mobile in my hand, I forgot how to write letters. When computer came to my house, I forgot spellings. When the AC came to my house, I stopped going under the tree for cool breeze. When I stayed in the city, I forgot the smell of mud. By dealing with banks and cards, I forgot the value of money. With the smell of perfume, I forgot the fragrance of fresh flowers. With the coming of fast food, I forgot to cook traditional cuisines. Always turning around, I forgot how to stop. And lastly, when I got WhatsApp, I forgot how to talk." These few lines give us several examples of real disruption. And disruption means when the lifestyle changes. And this COVID has certainly made sure that our lifestyle now on, after the corona goes, hopefully in a short while from now, will be different than it used to be before corona. Some people even have started saying, just as we had BC and AD years defined, now we will define BC as before corona and AC after corona, because the two eras will be different. Before corona, our lifestyle was different. After corona, it will be different. And same will happen to agriculture education also. I thought when I'm talking to you today, we have all heard of what we call as IQ, EQ, SQ, and we have been talking about it. But I came across a paper which says the fourth quotient which you should be worried about now is adversity quotient, AQ. Because unless you are mentally prepared to face the adversity, these adversities will always bother us, will trouble us much more than we are prepared for. And long before, I think 25 years ago, I read a book which said crisis prepared companies always make more profits than non-crisis ready companies. So while we may wish crisis not to happen, but we have to be prepared for crisis. And you, eminent people here, being connected with agricultural education and hence agriculture of this country, will agree with me that agriculture and the farmer community was very, very vastly affected because of the corona, and we have to learn lessons from it. And I got a beautiful quote which says the best teacher award for 2020 should go to COVID, because it taught us more than what any teacher could have ever taught us, how to behave, how to become better, how to face adversity, and so on and so forth. So some of the points which I thought I'll share with you in a few minutes I have is that I was just thinking, reading a line. It says cost of 1 kilogram of uranium is $50, but cost of 1 kilogram of enriched uranium is 15 million US dollars. Why I am trying to read this line is not enriched uranium, 50 US dollars, but enriched uranium, 15 million US dollars. So that is the value addition because of enrichment. And that is what education is supposed to do, that after we give education to a youth, his or her enrichment to the country should be many times more than what it would have been without education. That is the importance of education, and that's the importance of agricultural education in the country also, because in agricultural education, by agricultural education, you are supposed to be change agents not only for agriculture, but entire agrarian economy, and hence the total economy of the country. My few 2 cents worth of points today would be, after NEP has come, National Education Policy, and after we have now decided that a student of any discipline can opt for several subjects outside the parent discipline. For example, a mechanical engineer now need not study all the 25 subjects of mechanical engineering. He can take few subjects from other branches of engineering, even outside engineering. For example, for the first time, we now have a mechanism that a mechanical engineer can study music as a course and get credits for this. A mechanical engineer can study cricket as a course and get credit for this. Now that I see as a very great change, and under the guidance of senior faculty, these youth will really have a much more meaning to their education, because over the period of years, we had gone more and more specialized. As a matter of fact, I remember there was a PhD thesis submitted on the leaf of a tree. You know, as researchers, we become more and more super specialized and start loving our topic of research so much that sometimes we de-link ourselves from the real life and become so much engrossed in our own area of research. So that PhD thesis was on the leaf of a tree. The girl student of a botany worked on the leaf of a tree for 3-4 years. All the study about the various sizes of leaves, colors of leaves, how many veins run through, and so on and so forth. Published several papers, citations, everything. And the PhD thesis was submitted having bar charts, pie charts, and everything. And the reports were good. Viva was held. Examiner was satisfied with the Viva. And he said, okay, so and so, congratulations, you are a doctorate now. And but before I go, can you please tell me which tree this leaf belongs to? And the student did not know. Now that has become the level of our super specialization at times, that we started disconnecting from the ground and started becoming more and more specialized, super specialized, and super specialized. One of the greatest merit of this national education policy, which applies to agriculture education as well, is that now we have to care for what they call as every graduate should turn out to be a T-shaped personality. And from T-shaped personality, they meant was that while you should have depth of knowledge in a subject, you must have breadth of knowledge in several subjects. Because having only depth will not augur well in the lives of these graduates, because for the real life solution to the problem, in addition to the depth of knowledge in a subject, we must have breadth of knowledge in several subjects. And unless we have that, we are not able to solve life problems. And I think same is true about agriculture education also, that we became specialized and super specialized and not connected with the journal also. We started following the same rules. You should be PhDs and all that. And I was in a university abroad. They run a certificate course in ornamental horticulture. Now tell me, agricultural specialists, if you have to have a course on ornamental horticulture, where from do you get PhDs in ornamental horticulture? You will have to have the rules of the game slightly different for these kinds of subjects. And everybody in the country now talks about Nalanda, Takshila, Vikramshila as great universities for which we are all proud of. But nobody talks of that Takshila had a course at that time where all over the world students used to come, and the course, one of the courses was on snake charming, because that was the requirement of the day. So Takshila trained people to become snake charmers, and it was a short certificate course. Our universities, with the passage of time, learned that we must be high-end, we must be degree awarding institutions, diploma and certificates are below our dignities, and so on and so forth. And coming from engineering profession, I definitely feel that our diploma education and ITI education went much below the merit because we concentrated only on degree education. And I think to some extent this has happened in agricultural education also. Trying to take everything to the level of the degree, and thereby short courses, real ground level courses were probably not given that much effort which should have been given. This is my feeling, and I wish I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll be very happy about it. But now when the new education policy has been announced, my request to this August House would be, let us design more modules for non-agriculture students. Maybe one course for many students would like to study a course on agriculture, a study on course on floriculture. Urban students, elite college students would be loving to do that. I mean, none of us is happy when we can't distinguish between plant A and plant B, and we are going away from the nature. But now is an opportunity for agricultural universities to design modular courses for students other than their universities and give credits for that. I think that's an opportunity which we have to have, rather than for example, I was seeing the agriculture universities when they started courses in engineering. Gradually, those courses in engineering became almost exactly similar to the courses which are running in traditional engineering colleges. Because we see, somehow we believed quality meant conformance. I mean, I'm a traditional student of quality, but quality does not mean I should have my standard same as IIT. That is quality. No, quality means what I decide to do, I should be able to do. That is quality. And we lost therein. And that is why today in National Board of Accreditation, which I chair, we say we deal with only outcome-based education. You first define what do you look for in the graduate to be seen? What do you want to see in the graduate? And then only you talk about the design of curriculum, design of teaching learning pedagogy, design of examination. But firstly, you write down on a piece of paper, what do you expect of a graduate? And if I read you the international attributes which will talk about engineering education, which will apply to agriculture also in some sense, you will be happily surprised that that talks much less about the discipline depth, talks much more about the attributes. And I'm just quickly reading it out for you. Engineering knowledge. Number 2, problem analysis. Number 3, design oblique development of solutions. Number 4, conduct investigation of complex problems. Number 5, modern tool usage. Number 6, the engineer and the society. Number 7, environment and sustainability. Number 8, ethics. Number 9, individual and teamwork. Number 10, communication skills. Number 11, project management and finance. And number 12, lifelong learning. Now, these are the attributes which we have defined at the level of the world, which an engineer should have. And you will please appreciate, that is why I read that, it has much less with the engineering content that will be there. But if you don't have these attributes, for example, if you don't appreciate sustainability today, then whatever may be the CGPA, maybe 9.5, it doesn't matter. If you're not cost conscious today, if you're not energy conscious today, whatever may be CGPA, it really does not matter. So we gradually trained our students to be high scorers, good CGPA, nothing wrong in it, but that became the only focus. And then the next focus became placement package. Now, these two focus areas were not bad, but if they remain the only focus, then we have suffered in education, which we have done in several fields. So I would gesture to suggest that the agriculture universities should rather align themselves as university with a focus on agriculture. I mean, we not solely agriculture, but universities with a focus on agriculture and whatever is required. For example, I would feel mechanical engineering of agriculture universities should be at least 25% different than the mechanical engineering elsewhere. Electrical engineering of agriculture universities should be at least 20% different than electrical engineering of other engineering colleges. That is the requirement, and outcome-based education allows me to have different outcomes for different sets of institutions, and we have to go in for that. And also, friends, in our education system as a whole, we stop the students having the culture of asking questions. All through we believe asking questions is my job as a teacher, to answer is your job as a student. We came to that kind of pedagogy all over. I remember when a Nobel laureate, Rabi, in 1943 got Nobel Prize in Physics, the media people asked him, Professor Rabi, whom do you give credit for your Nobel Prize? He said, my mother. They said, is your mother physicist? She doesn't know even what science is. Then said, how do you give credit to your mother? He says, when the children used to come back from the school, most of the parents would ask, what did you learn at the school? My mother would always ask me, did you ask a good question from a teacher today? My mother every day would ask me, did you ask a good question from a teacher today? And every evening, therefore, I started preparing what could be a good question which I could ask the teacher tomorrow. And that gave me the habit of inquisitiveness. That gave me the habit of finding questions and then finding answers to those questions. And that's how I could do excellent research in my field. Friends, in the entire education system now, we have stopped students asking questions. A psychologist has written that a child of 4 asks on the average 73 questions per day. It looks to be mind-boggling, but that's a psychological study. 73 questions per day. These questions, many of them will be nonsensical. Why am I not able to walk? Why am I not able to run? Why can't I go near the fire? Why don't you allow me to handle the knife? Whatever. But 73 questions per day. And I can almost bet in entire schooling and college education, we do not allow the student to ask 73 questions in 15 years. So that's a culture which we have to bring in, inquisitiveness of things. How do we go along? And I believe, friends, that is where we have to change our pattern of education. And I believe in agricultural education, because things are more near nature, more near visibility, rather than abstract things, it will be much easier to bring in these things and much more relevant to bring in these things because people are seeing the things. In computer science, we will talk abstract. If you do this, artificial intelligence will take you there. Yes, fine. But in agricultural education, we can prove the fruit of the pudding on the ground. And world will believe whatever we do, whatever we learn to do, and project clearly. And we as researchers sometimes start believing that whatever I do is the only right thing to do, and make the world also believe it. There is a phenomena in literature now which is called zonerism. And I read about that phenomena, and that phenomena is there was a 14-year-old Israeli boy called Zona, just 14-year-old boy. He went to a conference of scientists. He said, gentlemen, I have come here to request you for something. I have come across a dangerous chemical and I thought you are all together. So I have come here to request you to ban that chemical. Everybody asked, what is that chemical? He said that chemical is dihydrogen monoxide. And why I want you to ban is, number one, it can cause severe burns while it is in gas form. Number two, it can corrode and rust metals. Number three, it can kill countless amount of people annually. Number four, it is commonly found in tumors and acid rain, etc. Number five, it causes excessive urination and bloating if consumed. So the entire audience felt, yes, if the chemical has so many bad things, it should be banned. And then this young boy says, well, dear scientists, dihydrogen monoxide is only H2O, which is water. And I have suggested you to ban water, and you have all agreed to this. Is it possible? All the 5 properties which I read, they are water's properties. It causes severe burns while it is in gas form. Steam does causes severe burn. It kills lots many people every year by way of floods. So all these attributes are of water, but I'm able to sell my hypothesis to you that the water should be banned, and you agree with this because you hear only one side of the story. Unfortunately, we researchers start loving our area of research so much that we do not look for better options. We stop our curiosity there and start marketing our ideas only. And that is where the problem starts. We start believing that every problem has one solution, and that is the solution which I know. And that is the solution which I know. Nobody else has a right to know any solution. And that is where we have made mess of many situations. I'll just take another short anecdote to prove my point, what I'm saying. You are all from science domain, agriculture or otherwise, but you have so all studied science for some years in life. There was a question in the examination hall of a foreign university. I'm talking long back. Says, how do you measure the height of a tall building with the help of a barometer? It's a standard question, 10th class question, and every student knows the answer. The question was, how do you measure the height of a tall building with the help of a barometer? And a student wrote, I will tie the barometer to a rope, go to the top of the building, hang the barometer down. When it touches the ground, I will pull it up, measure the length of the rope, and length of the rope is the height of the building. Well, nothing wrong in this answer. And but the professor of physics was furious. He said, I was teaching you physics throughout the year, and this is the answer which you have given me. And the student was, you can call it crazy, you can call it intelligent, you can call it smart, whatever. He says, sir, don't be angry at me. Read your question. You said, how do you measure the height of a tall building with the help of a barometer? I've used the barometer and I've given you the length of the height of the building correctly. So why am I wrong? Says, but you have not used physics. And the student says, sir, is physics more important or solution to a problem more important? Well, the intelligent answer, but we professors are professors. We don't easily accept the student's version. The matter went to the vice chancellor. Vice chancellor, like me, was a little softer kind of person. He felt the student has a point. But for we in administration, to tell the student you are right and your teacher is wrong is also a very difficult proposition. So that's what we do in all such situations, call an external expert. So an external expert was invited to solve this problem. He came, he talked to the boy, he says, tomorrow we'll give you a re-examination in physics. I said, fine. Next day, he says, you have half an hour and there's only one question. Here's the blank answer book. He says, what is the question? He says, question is the same. How do you measure the height of a tall building with the help of a barometer? After about 25 minutes, the student had written nothing in the answer book. The external examiner felt disturbed. He said, student, why are you not writing? Don't you know the answer to this question? He says, sir, my problem is I have about half a dozen answers running here. And I do not know which one you like. Because you give me grade only when you like the answer. You don't read the correct answer as correct answer. You are conditioned to reading what you think is correct. How do I know that? And therefore, I do not know which answer should I write. I have about half a dozen answers here. By that time, the external examiner felt that this boy is different. He says, okay, forget about the answer sheet. Let's discuss. What are the answers? Says, sir, several answers. I'll take a pencil in hand, start climbing up the stairs of the building, and with a pencil and the barometer, I'll keep on marking 1, 2, 3, 4. When I reach the top of the building, it is 24,768 marks. So 24,768 multiplied by the length of the barometer is the height of the building. I've used barometer and I've used the correct height. Says, no, something else. Says, sir, something else. I'm not being funny, but another answer could be go to the chief engineer of the building and he says, here's a beautiful barometer as a gift for your child and tell me the height of the building, opening your logbook. That's also a way to solve the problem. Why not? Says, but examination is in physics. He says, sir, if you're so much obsessed with physics, I'll go to the top of the building, hang the barometer like a pendulum. Throw the barometer on the ground with a stopwatch in hand and measure the time when it reaches the ground and then apply the physics formula S is equal to ut plus half gt square. That's a physics formula, sir. And that will give me the height of the building. So something else. It says on a sunny day, I'll place the barometer by the side of the building, measure the two shadows, and following the principle of optics, I'll measure calculate the height of the building. Well, the external examiner said, well, boy, I agree to give you A grade in physics. But please tell me, did you not know the answer which your teacher expected? He says, sir, I know. He says, sir, then what is the problem? He says, sir, I wanted just to find out that this teacher has been giving this question for last 10 years, and every 60 students are expected to write the same answer. If somebody thinks of a different answer, why can't the teacher evaluate it at least? I wanted to just make sure of this, that a problem can have more than one answer and more than one correct answer also. That is what I wanted to convince. Okay, so the grade was given, and I read, I'm not sure of this part of the story. He says the student was Neil Bohr and the external examiner was Lord Rutherford. And all of you would know modern physics is the birth of ideas of these two great scientists in the world. Why I am trying to narrate this story many times in my life is because I believe if this tolerance to understand the alternative answer would not have been there, modern physics might have been delayed, or which form would have come, I don't know. So the point which I'm trying to make is, and after the national education policy, it's little easier to make education very relevant. Let the students understand that the problems can have more than one solution. And let the students also understand that there could be some problems which may not have a solution. This type of examination system, that every problem has only one solution, one correct solution, and that is the solution which I taught you. And that is the solution which is written in the textbook on page number 224. This has to go off. And the new national education policy does tell us that the education should shift from rote learning to higher order thinking. That should happen to agricultural education also. So on one hand, I believe agriculture universities can have several modules for others disciplined students. I'm sure many of them will like to take one or two modules which takes them closer to the nature. Many universities in the world have done such experiments. There's a very famous experiment in the world called White Sox experiment. The experiment was that the students were asked to come to the university wearing white socks. And when they came to the university, it was a big campus like your agriculture universities. They were asked to remove the shoes, keep the socks on, and walk through the campus for 1 hour. And then come back, remove the socks, see them under the microscope, and then write, what are the trees in the campus? Seeing the seeds which have stuck to your socks, are you able to recognize the trees which are these? That's a white socks experiment, is a famous experiment to teach the students taking them closer to the nature. And I think this is much easier than in other forms of education. And friends, finally, I would like to say problems may look like complex. The solutions are not many times complex. It's quite possible that a very complex problem may have quite simple solutions. I was reading Stephen Hawking. Somebody asked him, sir, the last decade belonged to chemistry. Does this decade belong to biology or life sciences? He says, I don't know, but this decade certainly belongs to complexity, because problems are going to be much more complex than you are used to. And therefore, on the other hand, agriculture universities might work on agroinformatics, agroelectronics, etc., artificial intelligence and agriculture. You are doing this. I'm not saying you're not doing this, but probably much more Internet of Things and agriculture. I was reading the other day, they have designed the drones which are used for pollination of crops. Instead of depending upon the birds to pollination, the drones pick up the pollen from one place and shift it to another place. Now that is where the agriculture science can change. People talk about various alternatives to crop production, to crop rotation, to even totally different products. I read an article, Canada is totally experimenting with, can they have non-animal milk and drive their entire economy on that? Well, that may not be fully suitable for us, but the point is we have all the time to continue with this, and let us not believe that the formal education which we are all used to is the only method which takes our farmers progress. I'll just quote one last case study before I finish. You all know in Maharashtra, we have the culture of the dabbawalas, which take food from the home to the office. But many of you in the agriculture science may not know that these dabbawalas have successfully passed Six Sigma test of quality. Six Sigma test of quality is very difficult for even very big industries to satisfy. This is a question of how many errors you make per operation. I think Six Sigma does not allow more than one error in 10 million or something. But this illiterate dabbawalas, without any formal reading, can have qualified Six Sigma, and Stanford University has included this as in their case study, that without formal education, they can satisfy the best quality standards of the highest Japanese industry in the world. So friends, why I'm trying to sensitize you on this is, you in agriculture field have a great responsibility, and I have always believed if the real culture of this country has to change, agroeconomy has to take on, and without that nothing will happen. Sustainability will have to be a very strong focus in all domains of education, and much more in agriculture education. And I was just reading an article which says 21 sustainability innovations which should change the world, and I was just finding out which belong to agriculture directly. One is that drone application which I just talked about. Then there is an application which says by a Dutch flower exporter, which is planting device that makes growing crops in the desert possible. Then there is a herb gardens which can be developed in the supermarkets. There is a reducing food wastage organically, and so on and so forth. There is a sustainability innovation which says fabric created with recycled from coffee grounds, and so on and so forth. So agriculture and other domains of education are making this agriculture income so relevant and so meaningful. And I think we from agriculture universities will have a duty towards this nation, have a responsibility towards this nation, and ensure that that cross-section of the society, which is large enough, we can make it better. And that will be the only method to stop cross migration to the extent which we have been using to. I was seeing another YouTube last week, which says a 2,000 square feet house in a rural site using 3D printing and 5 lakh rupees. Now, if you can give everybody to live in a house of 2,000 square feet in 5 lakh rupees, then I think we would have made a major difference, major shift to the migration. And I had presented a paper about 3 decades ago. If connectivity improves, we can even convert the migration to reverse migration. So some of these concepts which may look to be very small, but can result into great. And why I am talking it today is because national education policy now allows you to do all these experiments officially and formally. Today, you can have your student to spend 6 months in a farm. You can have other students also to do that. So much more flexibility in terms of internship, in terms of combining vocational and professional education, in terms of taking courses other than the discipline, taking courses from other universities, and so on and so forth is allowed. So I'm very happy that you are all thinking on the same lines, which I could read from your document. Keep your identity. National education policy does not say be uniform. national education policy say, respect the diversity, respect the differences, and design relevant education. And I believe this is an opportunity where we can do that. With this, I think I'll seek your permission to close my talk, and thanking you once again, especially Dr. R.C. Aggarwal, for giving me this opportunity to talk to the best of the brains in agriculture education, and listen to me patiently, knowing fully well that I hardly know anything of agriculture education. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. A very inspirational talk, and we are thinking that we can go on listening to your talk. We can go on listening to those examples, which we have never heard. Each example was unique, and the way I think the best teacher qualities, I think you have all those qualities. By giving the examples to the students, you can make them understand what they want to learn. Really, sir, so kind of you for giving so many thoughts and giving the real basis behind this NEP, the real crux of the problem, that what we have to really teach to the student. As we say, and I'm of a firm belief that every student is born with some kind of creativity. It is the duty of the teacher to identify what is that creativeness hidden inside the student. We cannot have the same yardstick for all the students. And if we fail to understand the uniqueness or the creativity in the student, then I think we fail to be a teacher. So that's really something which you have delivered to us. And really you have given very good points for all of us. The kind of measures which we have taken through this document which we have read, we are trying to make more and more practical oriented our students entrepreneurship. And now even we are thinking that how we can take along the students who are just 10th pass, 12th pass in different certificate courses and different diploma courses. And for that now we are going to make a policy that also now we are deliberating so that every village should have one skilled person, say for artificial insemination, should have one person for nursery raising. So like that, and education has no connect with that. Anybody who has the interest can learn anything. You know, the famous example of the recent times from the Odisha, the person who has just 3rd pass, 4th pass, he got the Padma Shri, and he is a writer in the Odia language. And his poems are being read by the PhD students. They are doing PhD on those. So it has nothing to connect that you have this much qualification, then only you can obtain a certificate or you can obtain this skill. So that's really a very good message which you have given. And some of our colleagues, they are asking some questions. Most 90% of them, they are just complimenting you for your inspirational talk. But some of them, they want to know, can you throw more light on what is this herb garden in supermarkets? Dr. Chaya Atri is asking.
Well, I won't know the details. I have the article. If you send me an email or WhatsApp, I'll be able to give you the reference of that.
Then, sir, our own ADG, Dr. Mohanty is asking on alternative ideas, originally encouraging creative thinking, etc. So he's complimenting you for this. And he's again saying that it's marvelous talk. And without PPT, I think the best talk you have given. Most of the persons, they take help of the PPT, but this is the way how we can just know the traditional way of teaching, that how best you can communicate your ideas by seeing different things. So really, we are so grateful to you. I will request if Dr. R.B. Singh, can you unmute Dr. R.B. Singh? Arpit?
Sure, sir.
Yes, Professor R.B. Singh was the former director of Indian Agricultural Research Institute. And so he was also the chairman of the Agricultural Scientist Recruitment Board. And he has also delivered one of the lectures. And he has contributed in many capacities. and he is also the Padma Awardee. So, Professor R.V. Singh, you have any point to say?
Am I unmuted? Can you,
Yes,
am I
yes.
audible to you?
Yes, sir, please.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Let me first of all congratulate Professor Aggarwal for a wonderful presentation. I think it's a very unique way that we have been able to convey the message very strongly to us. As a matter of fact, we fully agree, India being the second largest agrarian economy in the whole world, and the agrarian economy considering 45% of our population based primarily on agriculture, as a matter of fact. And with that consideration, agriculture being the foundation of further growth of India, if the disruptive change has to take place in India, while, as you all know, during COVID, if anything did well, agriculture did the best, as a matter of fact, if you look at the contributions of agriculture. Now, the new way of doing agriculture, the new human resources are so very important to build the foundation for new India is absolutely essential. And for that purpose, education, the new education policy that has come, we are NEP 20 that has come, our National Academy of Agriculture Sciences with Professor Aggarwal, our DDG education is quite leader in that process. The new agriculture policy, education policy, we have come up from the academy, and many of the points, sir, that you have raised are included in that. You'll be happy to know that. I just wanted to use 2-3 very typical words in the terms which I have been using earlier, a word called STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. If in between science, technology, engineering, mathematics, A is put there, science, technology, engineering, agriculture, and mathematics, then the STEM turns into STEAM. And STEAM is the engine and power which will drive probably much more better than a single stick or a straightforward method. I am trying to say that the point which you made, that if mechanical engineering or one or the other engineering courses could have about 20-25% courses belonging to other fields, it will really enrich those disciplines also and will bring the right kind of human resources to appreciate the wider perspective of growth and development. And this is why I say change STEM into STEAM, and agriculture should be given the position where it probably, and that brings into the other dimension of growth. That is the point which you made, that probably it is the high time we should be able to interact multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, non-formal, formal education. All those are becoming important. And for that purpose, a word which has been also coined is the word grant, that bring the, it is not a agricultural grant or engineering grant or this grant or that grant or national grant. It is the word grant, that the whole world should be able to see to the reality of the ground. And the ground reality is that if the poor is to be helped, and where are the poor today? And if we think of an equal world, and we think of inequity to be won by agriculture, I think this is the way that we should be able to have the growth based on the new pillars of agriculture. And those 10 attributes that you mentioned really do fit into the agriculture, and also asking the right questions will give you the much better lead than answering the questions. So I fully agree with you, sir, that answering the question is important, but asking the right question is very important. And therefore, the connectivity that has to be brought to the ground reality to be internalized in the education process, so that we are able to solve the problem which is based on the real ground reality. And therefore, sir, it is not only that we are seeing the today the rainbow revolution, not only the green revolution or the white revolution, but the yellow revolution or the blue revolution are equally important. And all these revolutions taken today together, we can see with combination of digital, genomic, drones, artificial intelligence, data analytics to understand the interaction between the various forces of action and reactions to really liberate our people from the kind of inequity, poverty, and hunger. The Millennium Development Goal and our education is trying to put in line the SDGs 1, 2, and a few more SDGs in line with education policy so that our students, right from the beginning with the entrepreneurial thinking, not only to get the degree, but also to contribute to the overall livelihood security in the process. So this is the kind of education hopefully we are contemplating so that we will be able to come up with and the erosion that has taken place in our universities of basic sciences. As a matter of fact, sir, when Pantnagar Agriculture University to begin with was the first agriculture university, we had a school of basic sciences in Pantnagar, but the school of basic sciences was finished. Now, the whole round was supposed to have a combination of medical school, that school, engineering school, and so on. So the entire thing was stopped. So inbreeding and splitting up universities started in agriculture. So both the inbreeding as well as splitting have really damaged our agriculture university system. We have to get back to that. And therefore, I feel very strongly that the basic sciences should be brought back very strongly in our system. And therefore, both these formal, informal, entrepreneurial developments should be built in our, so that the private sector, public sector, corporate sector, industry, and the service as well as the non-formal sectors. All these sectors work together and agriculture provides the ground where everything is possible today. And I think we should go ahead for that. Thank you very much. It was wonderful to listen to you. Hopefully we'll be able to modify our courses further and probably we'll be able to be in touch with you, probably to take your advice and guidance on the process.
Thank you so much. Professor Singh, coming from you means a lot to the everybody with your experience. I just wanted to make one sentence. Your suggestion of STEM to STEAM, I had already given a report to Vivekananda International Foundation about 3 years ago, where I had suggested this. While implementing STEM in India, it should be converted to STEAM. I sent that copy of the report to Dr. R.C. Aggarwal, who will probably pass it on to you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So we think alike.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, Singh Saab. And I'm happy to inform you, sir, the 5th Dean's Committee report for the course curriculum was headed none other than by Professor R.B. Singh, where we introduced 1 year compulsory field training that's known as Student Ready Program, Rural Entrepreneurship Awareness Development Yojana for every student. So out of 4 years, 1 year is totally devoted for the village attachment or the industry attachment or the experiential learning. So many kind of models was proposed under chairmanship. So thank you, Professor Singh Saab, for this excellent idea, and always you are there to help us, to guide us. So thank you for your inspiration, sir. Namaskar, sir. So we are friends. You will agree that the wonderful lecture by Professor Aggarwal has benefited all of us. And I never knew that he is such a good orator. And he can give such a beautiful examples, anecdotes, and many more things. And the deep inside this NEP, the root, how the different things of multidisciplinary, how the change from the rote learning to the actual learning, and how the many concepts have come out. I think we are so thankful to you, sir. And I also want to inform Professor Aggarwal to you that using this platform, we had 42 lectures before this lecture, and all the lectures, they were by eminent persons on many topics. They are not connected with the agriculture only. They are connected with motivational, they are connected with policy, they are connected with many other international issues, global issues. So we are providing this platform to our scientists, to our students, to our colleagues, to know more and more the widespread dimensions, to know multidimensional issues, so that we can connect with the agriculture. And this is also a part of the NEP, you can say. So we are making this platform available to our students for a very noble cause, and that is to celebrate our 75 years of independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So I think this is in true sense the celebration of India's independence. So thank you very much, sir, once again. And thanks, Professor Singh. And thanks to all the esteemed audience. I see Professor Gautam, our Deputy Director Generals, Professor Tripathi, and Dr. T.R. Sharma, many Vice Chancellors. So thank you all the audience. And thank you, Aggarwal sir, once again.
Thank
Namaskar.
you so
Sabhi ko
much.
namaskar.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.